Hello, Keith Walker speaking. This is the video A, the first for week 2, to dealing with the core readings. Now, your textbooks that you should be able to lay your hands on should be the Peterson textbook and 5th edition of the Management in Asia Pacific. That's the one that we're going to be using. They're the books that I'm referring to, and the books that are constant through the course outline and the course study. Now, what I'm talking to here, first of all, is the first chapter of Peterson, which is where we want you to realise from the readings the large number of construction companies that do go belly up because of lack of financial control. The chapter is just dealing with that. That's what the first chapter deals with. Excuse me. It identifies that this problem is not only for small companies, but it's also for large companies. So in reading the chapter, you'll also see there's some tools in there for a construction manager to manage his business. They are things to help with cash flow and the use of subcontractors and other sort of things that can be used to manage a cash flow of a business. You'll find all those in chapter 1, the listing in chapter 1. The other thing it identifies from chapter 1 is the responsibility of managers and owners of business. Now that'll be you as students in the workforce at some date in the future. With a tertiary qualification and leaving this institution, you will move up through the career hierarchy of construction companies, if you so wish, and at some point in time you'll be the person responsible for some part or some core project that has an input into the cash flow of any particular business, the one that you're working in. So hopefully what we're doing by reading chapter 1, you appreciate the importance of this task, and you also then can see some of the tools and mechanisms you can have for looking after your cash flow there as a manager. I won't say much more about chapter 1, you can read that for yourself. I will conclude that for the Peterson comment that you'll appreciate, and you should already possibly know that construction industry is a risky venture. You'll see details of it in the chapter 1 from Peterson. You'll see how because of the ongoing project nature, the fact that you can be working on 3 or 4 different projects at 3 or 4 different times with different cost blowouts and different projects, and keeping track of all this. It is a complex business, and that's why hopefully you'll get paid good money when you do take on that role of managing a company. Now, moving on to the core readings from the management, which is the Management 5th Asia edition. It's just to give you a bit of a history of management. It identifies a few people in there who have had their roles and have been identified as being people that have started to lay the foundation for some of the modern management theory. Mary Parker Follett from the 1920s in America. You'll see other people in there listed. It's just to give students a flavour of the management theory that you're being exposed to didn't just pop up in the last fortnight. It goes back a fair way. If you think about it, if you think about management constructions, I mean, you can take it all the way back to the pyramids, which were 5,000 or 10,000 years ago. So somewhere along the line, someone has had to manage projects constantly through the evolution of mankind as they build bigger and bigger constructions to go forward. You'll see there's different references to different management styles in the chapter, in the first chapter. Classical, the modern, etc., and all these sort of things. What it is to give you a grasp that there are different ideas on the sort of tools that can be used by managers. It's to expose you to the theory of those ideas, some explanation of them. So I encourage students to read all the core readings. Now, in chapter 2 of the management textbook, we move on to the modern management approach. So you've had a little bit of history, now you're moving on to the modern management approach. You'll read through that and you'll basically get the gist that the modern management approach is meant to be scientific. In other words, it's based on some sort of research that somebody's done, observations that somebody has done, a theory that has been created by observing something in the business environment. Now, the reason for that is that if you have something that's scientific, it hopefully is a repeatable process. So if XYZ has worked before under such and such circumstances, then maybe it'll be just the thing you need to do in the circumstances you find yourself in. There's no single management theory that covers everything and everybody and every situation. But the idea again is to give you as students exposure to some of these ideas. Now, bearing in mind we've got a student group of plus 230, so it could quite easily be that some of you have already got an MBA out there. But bear that in mind, the other students have not. This is the first time or second time they've been exposed to a lot of the business theory side of things. And since you'll probably end up having to someday run some part of a business, maybe a small business, maybe your own business, maybe part of a multinational conglomerate, you could even be working in an international environment overseas on construction jobs. We hope you absorb some of these ideas so that you at least appreciate the complexities of management. The other thing, I guess, what we would have put in there too is the from chapter 4 is the international aspects of management, how complex the world is, how competitive the world is, the influence of such countries as China, and if you're reading anything in the press of lately to do with any business activity, you'll see quite a bit of in there. Will China grow? Will therefore Australia's prosperity continue? If it doesn't grow, what does it affect us? And all these things. These are constant discussions in the environment. You don't necessarily need to make a contribution to these discussions because you're not at the skill set yet. But if you're working in that environment, you need to be aware that they're there so that you can at least, if you have to factor them into your business model or take them into account as a possibility of change in your business environment, that at least you've got some plan or some awareness of it. One of the things that's mentioned in there as being very good for competitive countries for countries to compete on the international is the education systems. Luckily you're in Australia and it has a very good education system, and so good in fact that we can export a lot of it to international students, of which some will be in this class. So you come with the opportunity to be exposed to ideas. You have an opportunity to play with those ideas, experiment with ideas, discuss them amongst your fellow students, put them into place into your arousal model partway through this semester, and see what you can learn from there. Just one final little point there, and the text refers to on page 98 of acquiring appropriate skills. This is possibly just the start of your learning journey. While you will complete your uni degree and leave here with a very valuable and very worthwhile degree and documentation proving that you've got the degree, it really is just the start of you starting to acquire the skills. Nobody knows, least of all me, what's going to be happening in the business environment in 10 years' time. And it may be that you need to learn a new skill to adapt to the new environment or the new business circumstances and things like that. So this is part of the foundation of you learning as a student to the tools, getting the confidence to perhaps use them, and then appreciating that you will always have to be learning something new in the future, because that's the future's ever changing. So thank you for listening to this little clip about the core readings, and good luck with the rest of your studies. Thank you.